Another developer has come out and talked about the Xbox Series S, and they continue to reiterate that the Xbox Series S will not significantly hold back the next generation. So the CEO of the developer Fatshark has come out and said that the Xbox Series S won't significantly hinder the game development process. Now, before we get into this any further, if you're new here and you like what you see throughout this video, you find it entertaining and informative, I would really appreciate you hitting that subscribe button so you can help this channel grow. My goal for this channel is just to have an awesome community where we can talk about Xbox and video games and everything going on in the industry. One of the biggest things for me with the Xbox Series S is the fact that it is such a well-priced console for what you're getting under the hood with the SSD, and you're going to be able to play games at 60 frames per second. Me personally, I've seen a lot of people complaining about the S, probably who don't actually have an Xbox Series S, saying that because it's underpowered compared to the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5, it is going to hold back the next generation. And I completely disagree with that based on my experiences so far with the S. Now, recently I've been playing The Division 2 at 60 frames per second at 1080p on the Xbox Series S, and I've been blown away with how great that game runs with all of the graphical elements in there. Some of the graphical elements that aren't even available right now on the PlayStation 5, and then running at that smooth 60 frames per second. So when I see developers come out and talk about the Xbox Series S and say that it's not going to hinder the development process and it's not going to hold back the next generation, I'm not really surprised, but it's good to see them talking about this. Now, this comes from a recent interview with Gaming Bolt and between Gaming Bolt and Fatshark CEO Martin Walland, and they are a Swedish developer, and here's what he had to say about the Xbox Series S. Well, the Xbox Series S will be yet another platform to contend with that will take some time in testing and quality assurance. Many developers nowadays are used to a much more dynamic ecosystem of hardware. Even in the console space, we have had different tiers of the same consoles for many years. The way the Xbox Series S differs from the Xbox Series X, memory amount and GPU horsepower mostly, is for us much easier to adapt to than, for example, the wide variety of PCs out in the wild or the way that the previous generation of consoles differed. Less memory and slower GPU are things that most game developers can dynamically scale for by scaling resolutions and graphics effects, while different storage solutions or widely varying CPU performance are much harder to adapt to. All in all, we don't think that the Xbox Series S will significantly limit the game development progress as a whole in any way. Now, that's a great quote, and it does make a lot of sense because the CPU within the Xbox Series S is almost identical to the CPU in the Xbox Series X, and the biggest difference really is that GPU horsepower and the fact that they're going to have to tinker with like graphical effects and resolutions if they want to get 60 frames per second. So you're going to see a lot of 1080p at 60 FPS versus 4K at 60 FPS on the X, or 1440p at 60 FPS if they change different graphical effects. That's going to be the difference. And like he said here, that's way easier to contend with than dealing with a bunch of different PCs and a bunch of different systems with different CPUs, different storage levels and stuff like that. We've already seen tons of examples of this with the Division 2, with Destiny 2, even with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, where you're now able to get that game at 60 frames per second on a $300 console. He then goes on to say here, we have worked with Microsoft for many years and they are a great partner. We are very happy with what we've been doing together with them with Vermintide 2. So now we're building on that and we'll be doing more exciting things with them in the future. Also, it's no secret releasing on multiple platforms takes time, and we are ensuring that we can do a simultaneous release to PC and Xbox this way. Now, if you don't know Fatshark, they are currently developing Warhammer 40,000 Darktide, which is an Xbox ecosystem exclusive, and it's cool to see that they're taking their time to ensure that they're able to release this game on PC and on Xbox at the same time without any big hiccups, because that was the biggest thing, I believe, for Cyberpunk 2077, was the fact that they were trying to release the game for the PC of these crazy settings and then adapt it to the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, and we saw the debacle with that. We saw how that didn't work and the game should have been delayed. And again, when we look at this process of creating these games for these multiple platforms, the developers will obviously need more time to optimize them for all of these different platforms, but the fact that the Xbox Series S has that similar CPU isn't going to hinder their development process, like he is saying. And this is another reason why I think with Halo Infinite coming out in the fall, taking that extra year of development, because it's going to be coming out on PC on the SX, and then on Xbox One. That extra development time to have those optimizations for all of these multiple platforms, I think is going to do the game wonders. All in all, the Xbox Series S isn't going to hinder development process going into this next generation. I've been super impressed with the Xbox Series S, and I've said this in other videos. I'm actually more impressed with the Xbox Series S than the Xbox Series X, for the sole reason that I expect greatness out of the Xbox Series X, and so far, for me at least, it's really been delivering that. But the Xbox Series S, initially, I was thinking about it like other people were thinking about it, that it was just a lesser power console. But then when I finally got into it, it really hit me that you're paying $300, you're getting these games at 60 frames per second, you're playing them at 1080p or 1440p. It blows me away, the performance I'm getting out of the Xbox Series S for the price that I'm paying. Anyways, guys, that's it for me. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments below. Do you believe these developers, when they say the Xbox Series S will not hinder development process going for the next generation? Or do you think they're just saying this because they want you to go and make sure that if you do have an Xbox Series S, you're still going to purchase the games on their consoles? And overall, what do you think about the Xbox Series S if you have it? Are you as impressed as I am with the performance you're getting for the price that you're paying? Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button if you're new here and you enjoyed what you see throughout this video. I'd really appreciate you hitting that subscribe button to help this channel grow, help grow this community so we can have some great conversations in the comments below. Thank you again for watching. Thank you for your support, and I'll catch you in the next video.